Hello and welcome to the Mother's Justice Show here on KKNW 1150 AM. This is Shikundi Salisbury Sr. filling in for the incredible and incomparable Reverend Harriet Walden, who is unable to join us once again, but we are keeping her in our prayers. And so today I'm actually live in the studio with my brother, for full transparency, and one of Reverend Walden's other sons, the Big O. Omari Salisbury is joining us today to talk about all things Big O, as well as Converge and his new show, and then some of the things that are happening around the city politically, and just his outlook for 2026. So it's a great pleasure to host my brother here in the studio. Big O, welcome to the show.
Hey, Shikundi. What's happening, man? It's great to be back here. Thank you for the invite. It's great to be back in the studio. Great to see Eric again. You know what I'm saying? And the sound just altogether crispy on the airwaves.
Yes, indeed, man. So I'm really happy that you could join us. I've been, as you know, I've been filling in for Mama here on the show, and actually, I've actually started to step into this role of being a radio host. And so to have somebody, from the Big O show here today who does this for real, I've been calling myself a pseudo host, the guest host, but I actually stepping into the role. So it's a good thing. And so, I just wanted to catch up with you. We know that you've got a new show, the Big O Show. Everybody's seen all of the great things that have been on Converge Media over the years. We all know that you guys have won the Emmys. But up until now, I think most people know that the Big O, if you will, is behind the scenes, right? Every now and then you kind of fill in for this person or that person. But now you've launched the Big O Show. So excited to hear about that. And then, of course, just all the other good work that you're doing. But before we get into that, I just wanted to take a minute and shout out Mama, who's not here. We most certainly have a legacy of being outspoken and speaking truth to power, and most certainly a legacy of media yourself, right? I just remember Big O wrote an editorial in high school. It was up in the Seattle Times, right? So this is not anything new for you. But I just wanted to let people know that this is a lifetime of speaking and being in media and being opinionated and trying to be on the right side of things and tell those stories. So can you just talk a little bit about your history and Mama and how it's led you to this Big O show? Yeah. And Daddy too, tell the truth.
Yeah. No, I mean, so for me, well, first and foremost, let's just address something right here.
Okay.
You say that you're a pseudo host or get into a host. Bro, you show up week in and week out. You are a host. You're doing a fantastic job. And all you can do is continue to grow from here. But, it's no gray area with you. And you're doing great. So I just want to let you know that.
Well,
it's real deal,
Thank you.
I mean, so, it's no surprise that being here in the studio, and if Mama was here, I'd be right here saying the same thing, is that, man, it's just the way that we grew up. With those principles that you hear, that there's never a wrong time to do what's right, and there's never a right time to do what's wrong. And, justice
right.
delayed is justice denied. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And when you grow up in a home with those kind of values, it doesn't leave you. It just it stays with you. And then that was just enhanced with what we went through as kids with the Seattle Police Department and everything else. And, of course, Mom's commitment, Mothers for Police Accountability, and everything else. But along the way, that it's always, something in solidarity. I was being a kid, man. We were going somewhere. We'd go out to Nia Bay and standing with the natives so they could get their treaty enforced to be able to go whaling. And we'd go with these people, that people. Like, Mom would have us everywhere.
Yeah,
man.
powwows, all of that.
Yeah, Mom would have us everywhere. She'd be like, man, we finna go do what's right. You know, and so that just kind of remains. And what the Big O show and what we're doing right now is really, it's just an extension of that. For the last few years, I'd had some time off. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit. But now more than ever, our community really needs, man, just the unfiltered. Come at it. Well, what's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. I mean, it's good, right? Because I don't have no agenda.
Right.
That's the best thing. I'm not social climbing. I'm not trying to get clicks up to go this and that. You know, I mean, I said on another show, I've been to 60+ countries, man. I lived in Dubai for like 4 or 5 years.
Right.
We used to go to the south of France.
And we had
film
just to be clear, we did have a ball in Dubai when I was out there with you. I posted about that the other day. We got to get back.
We're there. We was in Bahrain. You know what I'm saying? In Zanzibar, in Tanzania. And so, but, you know, I've worked with some of the, man, I've just really done it big.
Right. Yeah.
And so for me, I can come back home and I'm not pressed. And I don't have no agenda. I'm not social climbing or anything like that with any of the mayors or government people. So you're in a position where you can just tell the truth. And we're not funded by hate. There's a lot of people that are just making money by driving division.
Exactly.
We're not driving division. We're not funded by hate or hateful ideology. We're not putting out clickbait. You know, I mean, So
with that being said, though, Big O, I think that. So can you talk a little bit about where kind of the Big O show fits into, you know, all of the Converge platform, if you will,
Sure.
right? Because I know that, you know, first of all, we got flagship shows like Back to Basa and The Day with Trey, right? And then I've seen the Get Ready for the Weekend show thing that's going on, right? And then the variety of other kind of, you know, one-off things that happen on there. And now you add the Big O show to the mix, right? So so what obviously you just mentioned a little bit about it, of kind of this unfiltered kind of raw piece with O. Is that the piece that you're adding to the Converge platform with this show?
Yeah, so first and foremost, big shout out to Basa Gordon. Like you said, mentioned, a host of Back to Basa on 3 times a week, by the way, on Fox 13 Seattle and Fox 13 Plus. And then The Day with Trey, with Trey on a Holiday, We Live in Color, Deontay Damper.
Oh, yeah.
And then Almost the Weekend.
Yeah.
With Basa and Curtis Delgado.
Yeah.
And so that's our lineup right there. What's missing, though, right, is that in 2020, Converge Media shifted the media landscape in the city forever with the launch of the Morning Update show in March of 2020. And so we were on air there for a few months already, going into weekday live news show, going into the Seattle protests, and we all know the outcome of that, you know what I'm saying? And the Morning Update show, I mean, it was huge. Well beyond our community, like for communities. I mean, it was just massive, the undertaking there. And actually, we ended up winning the Governor's Award, the Emmy NATAS Governor's Award,
right,
which is the highest honor that's offered, right? And a lot of that was because of our news coverage and everything else. So people got accustomed for 2 years of just outstanding news and information. And then in June of 2022, man, we retired the Morning Update show.
Right, I remember that.
Right, because I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to go and tell story. I mean, plus, man, it was a lot. You know, I got injured during the protest. It hadn't gotten as bad as it did recently, and lots of PTSD. I was around 3 murders over there, and then when you, anyways, it
at the CHOP you're talking about,
right?
When you met the 3
Seattle
murders,
protest.
Yeah.
And so then, for me, I was like, yo, I want to do something different. I definitely don't want to be on camera at all. And so that's what we really,
because you was on camera with the whole when you was streaming that time, and it was all you,
But I'm the guy. Can I tell you something? I'm gonna come back to the explanation here.
Yeah, no doubt.
Can I tell you something? Like with the Big O, you're my brother, so I'm gonna tell you the truth, right? This is something that, like, I don't like being on camera,
right?
I don't like, and if you see everything with Converge, and even before that, and everywhere I was at with Clouds and overseas and everything else, I'm the person in the back pushing everybody else.
Yeah,
right?
No doubt. That's why we're surprised about the show.
It should tell you a lot that if I'm on camera, somebody who hates being on camera, but that's how big that the need is right now in our community. And so it's kind of wild because people who know me know everybody's so surprised. They're like, bruh, you back on camera? Like an average person might be like, yeah, I was like, man, I hate being. Now, radio's my first love. I hang out with Eric all day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Both Erics all day. And so it says a lot, though, for me to come back on camera and go back in the news and information because there's a need for it in our community.
Right. So I've been seeing a lot of, and we'll get into it in the next segment, but I saw, if you could just talk a little briefly, I saw that you had a sit down with the mayor, with the new mayor, the mayor-elect, Mayor Wilson. And so that's been, and then I saw you, out in Tacoma, right? And you seem like you're everywhere with the Big O Show. It's not just in the studio. Clearly you're over here with us.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a tenet of the Big O Show that you're kind of on the road with it and in the studio? Or is this more of just a media run right now?
Nah, so this is what I'm saying. The whole point of the Big O Show, the whole point of the Big O Show is to be everywhere like air, bro. You know what I'm saying? From Maine to Spain, from Turkey to Albuquerque. You feel me?
And putting paint where it ain't.
And putting paint where it ain't. And you're definitely going to catch me in the Black Media Matters studio. But, we take the show on the road, and the show, that's the best thing. Is the Big O Show, one, is still evolving.
Yeah.
And it's great to be in a space. Imagine how dope this is that, man, we're pushing something and playing something at the same time. And it's like, man, if I don't get you in the wash, I'm going to get you in the rinse. You see what I'm saying? As we put everything together. And so, no, me being visible everywhere isn't just media run.
Okay.
We're going to stay on the media run. Oh, this like...
Now, like I said, I wasn't surprised, but you were on that podcast that was out in Tacoma.
Legendary Dope.
Yeah, Legendary Dope. Shout out to them.
Big shout out to Alicia Michelle, Legendary Dope, L Rock, everybody in Tacoma. Come on, man.
Well, man, I appreciate you in this first segment coming down, Big O, and lots to talk about in the next segment. We know that as you mentioned, the protest caused a lot of consternation and trauma, but some of that was brought back up when you had to testify in that case last week, and so I want to hear about that and some of the other things, your outlook for 2026 when we come back. Hey, this is Omari Salisbury here filling in for the great Reverend Harriet Walden on the Mother's Justice Show on KKNW 1150 AM. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back here to the Mother's Justice Show. This is Omari Salisbury filling in for Reverend Harriet Walden, who's not able to join us today. I'm joined here in the studio by my brother, the Big O.
Hello.
And we're talking about, among other things, the Big O Show, which is his new show that's launched on the Converge Media platform, but also some of the other things he's been into. And Big O, I want to talk about your appearance last week on the witness stand.
Yeah, well, first of all, I gotta throttle it down here a little bit. Man.
Yeah.
Eric's giving me the real time cues. He done brought me a second pea popper over here. You know what I'm saying? Which means that I've been over here on this mic going, two hand. But yeah, nah, man. So it was crazy. Is that
I guess I should have set that up, right?
No, I got you.
Okay.
So what was going on is that, man, which is really, really wild, is that Antonio Mays Jr., I'll take everybody back to 2020.
Right.
On June 29th, early morning of June 29th, in what was then called the CHOP, Antonio Mays Jr., 16-year-old child, was murdered in the CHOP. And he was from Los Angeles area, and he ran away from home, telling his dad, left a note, said that he wanted to be part of his generation's civil rights movement and that he was coming to Seattle to make a change and to make his father proud. He was murdered there, like I said, in the early mornings of the CHOP. I was literally maybe 100 feet away around the corner, maybe 200 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that night vividly. So anyways, fast forward 5 years, 2025, right? And the city has always said, They claimed Antonio Mays Jr. was committing a crime, that he had came here and robbed somebody, and that he was on the run, and then of course he got murdered. And so the city of Seattle has for 5 years drugged this young man's name through the mud for 5 years. And what the crazy thing is, concurrently, what was happening is I was working on a podcast with the Seattle Times, KUOW, and NPR.
Right.
And as part of that, they asked for our footage from 2020. I was like, yeah, man, this stuff's traumatic. It's got PTSD all over it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can do what you want. They spent hundreds of hours looking through the footage, and they found Antonio Mays Jr. It turns out that I had shot a clip of Antonio Mays Jr. about 48 hours before he died.
Mm.
And on the clip, we hear Antonio speak, literally speaking from the grave, saying, hey, I'm all for protect and serve. We just want police to have better training so they can know how to work in our community better. This was the voice, this 16-year-old boy, and he was standing there with other activists and protesters, and I was actually having a conversation with one of the city directors from, I believe, public utilities. And so now the narrative now shifts that the city of Seattle for 5 years said that this guy came up here to be destructive, and here he is now in his own words. And so you can imagine just the shock already of like NPR finding this footage, in my footage 5 years later. But then it's like now they're in trial, the civil suit, and so the Antonio Mays Jr.'s lawyer gets the footage admitted, but dog, the judge says that it can only be played to the jury on mute. So the jury, I would devastate. That was a Friday. That was not last Friday, but the Friday before. And it was like, hey, because I'm like, as a father and everything else, man, I'm like, yo, people are gonna hear Antonio's last words. They're gonna hear this boy, and the judge put so many stipulations on it and everything else. They played the tape with no sound, and then the Mays' lawyer did the best he could. They were getting objection. Eric was there, objection, and I could only say what was happening. I couldn't say what Antonio exactly said.
Yeah, because I know I'm interrupting you, but
No,
I remember reading on the story the jurors were not even told that it was him speaking, so they just saw a clip. Right.
That's all they saw. They saw three guys there, And the thing is Antonio had a mask on, like a small COVID mask.
Okay.
And
well,
so
everybody was trying to have about it too.
Well, but I'm saying is, it's like the two guys standing next to him, they didn't have a mask, and so you could see their lips moving, and so the jury wouldn't even know
that he was
young
talking.
Man spoke.
Oh,
I mean, man, my heart is still broken, man. That was such a tough day, and I just knew, I was like, here's Antonio's voice. 5 years later, bro. And for the jury not to be able to hear this young man, you know what I'm saying? And part of it is, too, with this case is, it's a civil case, but Antonio Mays Jr., a senior, for him, he wants to clear his son's name.
Right.
So, with civil damages, whatever that might be, if he wins. But the biggest thing is the city of Seattle has always claimed that this boy was a thug, that he came up here to do wrong. That wasn't the case. And man, it's very rare, Cullen, that you ever see me put the weight of my full existence behind somebody. I'm like, let's see this and that. I put the weight of everything I am in this space of journalism and storytelling, and just as a father myself. This boy didn't come here to do no harm. So
So I mean,
tough.
Did the judge even explain in any way why you would mute the sound? Like, was it some kind of worried about?
They said it was prejudicial to the jury. No kidding, it's probably going to be prejudicial because they're going to hear a young boy who the city of Seattle has painted as some crazy maniac kid as being thoughtful. He's tapping the guys, because he's a young guy. He's 16. Everybody else who's over there speaking, they're in their 20s. He's tapping them respectfully, saying, hey, I'd like to speak now. And then he goes and he says what he has to say and everything else. And he's talking to city officials. He's not talking to the homies, the Tay-Tay and
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily an interview for which you with the now infamous red phone,
right,
if you will. You were just there as bearing witness to
exactly.
the situation.
That's the same day. June 26th is the same day that the city tried to clear the CHOP the first time.
Right.
It failed, and so immediately the city dispatched almost every director or top official into the CHOP to basically start negotiating or communicating in there. And so you saw SPU, you saw utilities, you saw the mayor's office, you saw fire and everything else. This conversation happened to be an ongoing conversation that I walked up to in between Antonio Mays, David Long, and those guys, and the people from Seattle Public Utilities. They were having an informed, educated conversation.
Civil.
Very civil. It's very civil. And what's happening is the thing that got me, bro, is calligraphy. I tell you, we send so many young people home. And so many young people, it's dangerous here. You got to go home. How can we get you home? My own son, little O, and occasionally little O wanted to be out there with his dad. I said, son, this is dangerous. You got to go home.
Yeah.
If I would have met this boy, I would have done my level best to keep him safe, cuz.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, it's hot. I thought that I was over and past so much of the protest, bruh. And it brings it all back. But you know what, man? It's for Antonio Mays Sr. to hear his son. And he said it was the best gift ever to hear his son.
Right, so they got a chance to hear the audio. Of course, it's just the jury didn't get to hear the audio.
The jury didn't, and so when the Seattle Times, when Sidney Brownstone played the video to Antonio Mays Sr., they played it over Zoom because at the time he was still in California.
Right,
he was overwhelmed. He was so taken back. Actually, he had to hop off the call because he recognized his son immediately. And
his voice and everything.
And then hours later, he was like, this is the greatest gift ever. And it was so reaffirming. He would have probably been happy just to hear his son singing a song or ordering food. But to also hear his son saying and doing exactly what his dad said that he was about, bro.
Yeah,
no, man, it was real, bro.
Yeah, so, I heard the patch. So, when we talked that day, for the listeners out there, obviously it's my brother, right? And so one of the reasons why I was here, right, of course, it is the Big O Show, but I heard in his voice, the consternation that this is causing and dragging back the trauma from the CHOP. And I was like, well, man, we should go on the show and really talk about that and really have use the platform. Right. Of course, you got your own platform, but it's different when somebody else is talking to you about it. So I'm glad that we was able to be right here, right now. Speaking of sending people home, I remember I was out there with you one day with you one day when we were by the East Precinct.
Yeah, the Western Barricade.
Yeah, the Western Barricade, right? And man, they hit that. They hit some of that whatever, and my asthma kicked in. You was like, go home, cut. Because I think, was it your birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah. I came out there on your birthday, and I was just like, look, man, let me go out here and check on my bro, man. Because people was calling me. I mean, not to keep bringing it up, right? But people was calling me. They was like, it's all okay, right? Because you would be broadcasting from the red phone, and then the phone would go down or something. And then as soon as the feed, because it'd be like, share the feed. And then if the feed's not there, people can call my phone. Is he okay? What's going on, right? So obviously we made it all through, man. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next segment. Hey, this is Omari Salisbury, and you're listening to the Mother's Justice Show right here on KKNW 1150. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the Mother's Justice Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, and if you're just joining us in the studio today, I have the Big O. For full transparency, that is my brother and another son of the great Reverend Harriet Walden, whose show we're filling in on here today. And if you're not following us on socials, on Facebook, be sure to like and follow the page at Mothers for Police Accountability. and on Instagram at MFPASEA. So Mothers for Police Accountability Seattle on Instagram, MFPASEA on Instagram. Like and share the page. Speaking of sharing, we just on the last segment we were talking about the CHOP and the now infamous red phone and how the ask was to share the stream, and during that time, whenever the stream was not going for some reason, my phone would be blown up because so many people were worried about you. When you're out there filming and rightly so, as you mentioned, it was a dangerous time, dangerous places, and most certainly we lost some young people like Antonio, and others, right? And so since then, obviously you've done a lot to work on putting some of that trauma behind you, and I think it's been admirable that you were able to step back into that for this trial last week and testify to be the voice of the voiceless, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you think about it. When you say it like that, it was like there were so many people worried, and 5 years later, looking back at it, there was. I mean, but we had no clue
No.
at the time. You know what I'm saying? And we had no idea. Some of this stuff, I looked at the pink umbrella tape. Some students came by and I showed them the pink umbrella, and man, the police just deployed tear gas, and I ran in there in front of the police, and I'm like, police, stop! Like it's wild. I mean, but it kind of even comes back to what we started saying at the beginning of the show, is there's never a right time to do what's wrong, and there's never a wrong time to do what's right. And sitting there and they're totally unprepared for tear gas and everything else that was being deployed. Police, stop. It's just what's so interesting about just that entire era, right? And as we fast forward and, people that maybe are not as close to the situation or don't know you personally and know how you were raised and just being able to, again, have a lifetime of speaking truth to power, standing up for people, and speaking for the voiceless and all of those things. It's not like you ran into the pink umbrella and the tear gas with the hopes of 5 years later having a nationally syndicated platform on Fox Soul. We thought we was just talking to the neighborhood. So,
yeah,
so
no
to be
doubt.
honest with you, we came out there because our morning update show, which ultimately grew very big, man. We'd have like 50, 100, maybe sometimes 200-300 people from the neighborhood who would join in every morning, which was cool. And so for us, that's who we was talking. It wasn't until a ways into the protest that we realized at some point the whole world was watching. We was really just reporting back to the neighborhood.
Exactly. And so that's what I'm really trying to, I think our listeners, obviously the listeners are fans of our mama, and that's how he was raised, right? This is the cut for is doing the right thing, speaking truth to power, stepping in between things to be able to speak up for people, and it shows, right? And it wasn't. This is in a town of performative actions or calculated transactional actions. This is most certainly an example of not being that, right? Like you literally, I was there. People were spraying tear gas, and you walked into that. There was no expectation that years from now we would be able to parlay this into some kind of media empire. It was really just what you just said. Like,
to be honest with you, Con, if I tell you this, is like, the people, our neighborhood, and people should be proud to know that, like, we never sold no footage, man.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too.
From people, we had Tucker Carlson on one side and Rachel Maddow on another. And, man, we ain't sell no footage to nobody because we're like, man, no matter who got our footage,
they're going to spin it.
Well, yeah, they don't want the best for Seattle. They just want the best for their ratings. And so, and this is also why, bro, after all these years, when you see documentary, people can put them together in 30, 40 days now, or, at least a few months. You've never seen a comprehensive documentary about the Seattle protests because you can't tell the story without Converge. And Converge, we're not just giving up the footage. People used to come and talk to us about, doing something X, Y, and Z, and breaking us off. But I'd be like, yo, man, we was out there for our neighborhood. We weren't out there as filmmakers. We were just out there really as some guys trying to show what was going on. We've evolved now into filmmakers, but in my conversations with the big streamers that would come here, I would tell them, like, man, you have to do something for my neighborhood.
Right.
That's why we was out there. Put a studio inside of Garfield High School. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Put, kit out one of these schools, build a media lab, because then that's something that's worth, like, us being like, okay, well, we're going to give up this footage and make a documentary and X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But think about that now.
Yeah,
that was
pay our youth.
Yeah, exactly. That was the biggest civil uprising in this part of America. There's been no comprehensive documentary because you can't tell the truth about the Seattle protests without Converge Media.
Well, one of the things I would say to that, and don't be mad at me for saying this, right, because we're on the radio live, and this is not a gotcha show, but one of the things I think a lot of people don't understand is that Converge, right, while they've done a lot of amazing things, there's been some tight times down there, right, because of the fact that you guys have stood on business, right? And that's that reminds me of Mama, where Mama, one time, they gave Mama, they was trying to give Mama like $10,000. They had sent her a check for whatever it was. And then before Mama could even cash the check, because they had sent it to her kind of preemptively, but then they called her and was like, oh, yeah, we want you to testify about this or that, or we want your support on this thing. And Mom was like, I don't support that. I'll send you your money back right now, right? And I was upset, of course, because, I'm over here trying to help with her rent. And for her to send a check back for 10 bands, I was beside. But then I was like, but that's who we are. Yeah. Right. And of course, they had tried to send me a check. I only got $2,500, so I had to rip mine up, too. I was upset. Because I was going to go on a cruise with mine, but then Mama reminded me that that's not who we are. So the fact that, Converge is basically sitting on, arguably, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not, even more than that, of this footage, right? When you see, and not to bring in other people's stuff, but you see what a documentary that people want to see can go for with the one on Netflix right now. We don't even have to bring up any names of that. If you know, you know. But we know what footage could be worth to the right person. And so the fact that, you guys stood on that business and said, hey, if nothing is going to come back to my community for this, then y'all could keep that money, right? Yeah. And I think it's important that people know that part of it, right? Because they see the Fox and they see all this stuff. This is a long journey. And honestly, in my opinion, and I'm just saying my opinion, right, Converge probably could have been a lot further along if they had this money from selling out.
Let me tell you,
but you didn't
Converge. So here's the thing is that hopefully you got lots of reasons to be proud of your little brother.
Always.
But something that you should be proud of, Kun, is that when the Seattle protests ended, man, everybody wanted me. Everybody wanted me to be a talking head on TV and do this and that and everything else, bro. And Converge would be so much bigger. But, man, I just went home. We packed our stuff, and we just went home back to the CD, bro.
Yeah.
Because, man, that's who we in service of. That was 40 days. It was life-changing for a lot of people, good and tragically. But that wasn't what we went out there for. We went out there to just tell our neighborhood what was happening. And so when the protests really ended, while other people found ways to, I guess blow up in whatever way was best to them, we knew that we wasn't there to stand on top of the protest and launch a career.
Right.
We went right back to telling our black stories in our black neighborhood, and here we are. 5 years
man,
later.
and I salute to that. And like I say, I think a lot of people don't realize that part, that that this wasn't a master plan, that this is this organic work and staying true to true to yourself, right, and true to the culture the DNA of how, the organization was started. So, definitely salute to that, right? And I think it's it's actually today we're talking about the Big O show and the launch of it and everything. It's kind of like you've come full circle, because in the last segment you talked about the fact that, there's some stories here that need to be told, and they need to be told in an unfiltered way. And speaking of unfiltered, the CHOP and the Seattle protester was completely unfiltered, right? And to have you now 5 years later, back from, the hiatus, if you will, on a personal note, and now you're in front of the camera to tell these unfiltered stories on the Big O show on the at the Black Media Matters studio, as well as out in the community, man. So I think that's a real good look.
Man, thank you.
Yes, indeed.
We keep it in a buck, as the kids say.
Yeah, so most certainly, man, I think that's one of the things we want to see, as you mentioned, around media and young people and putting things into, maybe up at Garfield and all of those things. I hope to see, the Big O show be, out and on site, right? Because that was one of the hallmarks, I think, of, and people knew that because, and I love that about Converge, especially the day with Trey, the what is it, the Emmy nominated intro, right?
Yeah,
how
Emmy
that
winning now.
Yeah, Emmy winning. How that was filmed on the top of the Garfield pool, and you had all the local people in there like Vitamin D and Coach T and all of that, right? So that was an amazing thing, and the fact that you were out in Tacoma, with the legendary dope. So that's basically going to be a part of your MO, being out in the community.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled with some mobility issues for years, and and it's funny, but now what's the funny thing is, I guess I would say, is that now that my mobility is returned, and I stay outside.
Yes. Well, man, I'm super happy for you around that, man. And we'll talk about being outside and legacy and what's next for the Big O when we come back from the next break here. Once again, this is Omari Salisbury Sr., and you're listening to the Mother's Justice Show here on 1150 AM KKNW. Please follow us on our socials. That's Mothers for Police Accountability on Facebook and MFPASEA on Instagram. We'll be right back. Someday at Christmas, there'll be no war. All right. Well, hey, welcome back to the Mother's Justice Show right here on 1150 AM. This is Omari Salisbury Sr., and I am joined in the studio today by my brother, the Big O of Converge Media fame and Central District prowess and Bulldog for life, if you will, with much Viking pride at Elizabeth City State University alumni. And he is most certainly famous in North Carolina circles and beyond for the R&D. If you know, you know.
Come on, man.
So, man, speaking of legacy and Big O and everything you got going, man, I'm loving the show. And I'm loving, of course, everybody's loving the Converge and the space of being able to tell Black stories, right, in an authentic way, like an unbiased, unfiltered way, and just to see Blackness, it's most certainly something that both of our parents are most certainly loving and love to see, and it's great that they both got a chance to witness that, So with you coming out with the new Big O show, and you being in front of the camera is just a whole other piece of it, man. And I think a lot of people, as you mentioned earlier in the show, people are surprised, but if you know you, and there's something that needs to be done, it's not very surprising that over this period of time, the last couple of years, you've watched and seen, and it's like, okay, there's something missing here, and I'm gonna tell it on the Big O show. And that's how I feel when I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I was hoping that when we retired the morning update show, that vacuum would be filled.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this is great. And, of course, it most likely be filled by one of our competitors, which is, man, it's okay, but it just needed to be filled.
Yeah.
And, I mean, believe it or not, Gun, 3 years after retiring the morning update show, I've been going back in City Hall these days, and you go to press conference, I'm still the only black face there.
Right.
So the day that Mayor Harrell announced the SPOD contract, it's the only black man in the room, black person in the room, real deal.
Right.
Even Wilson, I had question number one when Wilson, the day that basically she accepted or whatever the results. Man, I'm the only brother in the room.
Yeah.
And when you're not in the room, people don't have an expectation that they have to speak to any issues directly to you or your community. And so, I can see it clearly, like 100%. And I think that it's just it's an important time locally, across our region, across our state. People got to understand all these taxes and everything else that's coming out of Olympia and this legislation. It's not as the space is different because you got to remember Kevin Schofield also retired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that show.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there was just a lot of knowledge about city government and what was happening that was no longer available, and a void wasn't filled.
Yeah,
and
I'm glad it's funny you mentioned that because next week I've got Councilmember Rob Saka here coming on the show to talk about his vote no on the recent police contract.
Yeah,
right.
Accountability.
Accountability. Yeah. Right. And so having access to those folks and being able to get their responses through a lens of blackness is super important, right? Mm-hmm. Because we know that everything that's good for Seattle, if you will, is not necessarily always good for black people, right? And that's across the board, whether it's housing or police accountability, all of these different programs. So we have to always make sure that whatever resources, policies, contracts, what does that mean to black people specifically, not just BIPOC, right? That's great. People of color.
You'll find, like, if we just be realistic, man, that just the truth. Yeah. That a lot of things that in the Seattle metro area were well-intending, far left-leaning, white population, right. What works good for them don't necessarily work good for black folk.
Right.
But the other thing is that, man, somehow we, in our interest and everything else, seems to get bundled up. And it's like, hey, well, we know what's best for black folk. Like, you got to think about it like this, man.
Yeah.
We live in a city basically where, man, white people tell us what's best for us.
Yeah, I know.
There's not a lot of autonomy here for us to be able, but also because we're not really down in pushing our own agendas, and we're not down there really holding people accountable and everything else. People are able to co-opt what they feel is best for us, best for our community, and everything else.
Man, so that's and it's good to see that you have that hat on. Most certainly, like I said, it's in the legacy of the cloth that you was cut from. And I just want to give a couple of flowers right here. Now, obviously, I feel like, I'm the older brother. I tell people I'm the younger brother sometimes. But in this particular case, I just want to acknowledge I really feel like, especially with this big old show, that you are exhibiting the best of both our parents, right? Because not only do you have the passion and the fire of telling people what's right, and even if you're the only one, because that's something that Mama always says, sometimes you got to stand alone, even if you're the only person that's going to say that. Even if I'm the only one, I'm going to say it. And that's what Mama would say if she was here right now. And, of course, Daddy, right, a graduate of Brooks Institute and a world-class photographer and a man of faith and conviction as well, had the eye for just quality and excellence in everything that he would put himself towards, right? And we saw that in the photography in the studios over the years, and just everything that he put his hand on. And the fact that you have the Black Media Matters studio and all of this excellent execution. It's the best looking thing on the internet, to tell the truth, and on broadcast TV. to have this kind of this band of a crew. You got Eric Calligraphy and everybody else to have this well-produced show, but also speaking truth to power and not be for sale. Those, to me, are two of the best elements of our parents, and they are exhibited in your day-to-day in the work that you're doing with Converge and now the Big O Show.
Look, I know we're short on time, so I won't be long. But first of all, I'll tell you, thank you, Kun. And second of all, I would say that, when we launched the Morning Update show, I told guys, I said, hey, I don't know how many people we're going to get, but I know we'll have at least 2. I said, I know my mama and my daddy, they going to watch. And they always watched. And for me, there's not a thing that ever came out of Converge that they didn't see first. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's who I do it for. And it's really dope. And I just want to say that, like, bruh, when I came back from overseas, this great career that guys had over there and launching TV stations in foreign countries and all that. When I came back home to Seattle, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't even get an interview, nothing in media. But Mama bring me to this studio every week. And it was the greatest feeling. And I sit over here with Eric and all these things. And her bringing me here kept me hopeful in media and kept me going to where we're at here today. So I'm just thankful to be here, Kun. Thank you.
Well, you know what? We're going to end it on that. You most certainly are welcome, Big O. Once again, y'all, this is the Mother's Justice Show. And again, so next week I've got Council Member Rob Saka. He recently voted no, one of 3 council members that voted no on the police accountability contract. And so we're going to hear from him about his reasons and what his vision for police accountability in 2026 and beyond. And another thing that we're working on along with Big O here is a Black Parent Summit at Garfield High School on January 10th. Saturday, January 10th at Garfield High School. We're going to be hosting a Black Parent Summit, so mark that on your calendar. And again, follow us on socials, Mothers for Police Accountability on Facebook and MFPASEA on Instagram. This is Shakundi Salisbury Sr., and I'm filling in for the incredible, incomparable Reverend Harriet Walden, who is not able to join us once again, but we're going to keep her in our prayers. Thank you for listening today, and we'll see you next time on the Mother's Justice Show.